So we're seeing some very, very important signs within the crypto market, which are signaling some huge transitions, which if you're adequately positioned, you could stand to make massive money. And if you're positioned on the wrong side, well, of course, the opposite, you could be positioned to lose a lot of money. So in today's show, we're going to discuss what this means. We're going to discuss why this is one of the most important weeks for crypto moving forward. We'll go through the altcoin sector and the much anticipated question, which is when alt season. So smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Let's get straight into the show content. A lot to discuss. You can see how many tabs I have here. So let's get into it immediately. Just quickly looking over here at the bubbles, we know that some of the coins are still pulling back. We had an attempted bounce early on this morning. You can see on the hourly, but the dailies, some of those at least are still red. Weeklies still red, and monthlies, only a couple of coins still standing strong over here, which is an important time because we are coming into the monthly close in just a couple of days. You can see as it currently stands for October, Bitcoin is up 7.16%. And remember that the average returns for October is 21.59%, right? So we always talk about October, right? And this time it's not the same October that we've had previously. But remember, a lot can happen in a short amount of time. I'm going to show you why today specifically within the stock market, we've actually seen some of the biggest moves on this day. And that means that, if we do see some sort of a rapid move in the stock market, well, Bitcoin could potentially still catch up to that 21%. Remember, sometimes the biggest moves occur in a very, very small amount of time, which means that when it is a bull market, you want to be positioned and you want to be sitting and remaining in those positions, not getting chopped in and out, moving from cash to crypto the whole time. Because if you do get one of those big gainer days, well, you could stand to miss out on all of the major opportunities. And then remember, we also looked at the Bitcoin quarterly returns being the best in the fourth quarter, and then for ETH's quarterly returns being the best in the first quarter of the year, which oftentimes you'll see Bitcoin dominance top in the fourth quarter. So we're going to dive a little bit more into that, the Bitcoin dominance topping, as well as a couple of other metrics which could signal when altcoin season may actually take place. Because as it currently stands, unless you are very, very selective in the altcoin picks that you chose, well, you're probably down in Bitcoin terms. I know in Wellroom, we've been mostly looking at the alt BTC pairs, which I'll also dabble in a little bit today to showcase, some of the stronger ones coming into key supports. And had you picked those ones, well, you'd be up in USD terms as well as BTC terms. So let's get into it. Remember that the best days are still ahead of us. The best months are still ahead of us. Because if you look at the S&P 500 index monthly returns over a 6-month time period, well, usually it's actually November to April that performs the absolute best. On average, 7.1% gains. And you can look at possibly even up to 77% higher, right? So if you have a look over here, also the best day of the year is October the 28th, right? This is from Carson over here with 0.51% return, so slightly above the average. Some of the other average returns on the better days are 0.2 to 0.3%, so 0.51%, an outlier when taking this over, many decades of data, 1950 to 2023 data. That's what showcased the 28th of October is one of the best days. And there's your stock market, right? Onwards and upwards. Remember, we're now just days away from the US election phase. We're also going to discuss, what the implications could be if Trump were not to win. We know that Trump has labeled himself the crypto president, whereas Kamala's campaign is, of course, looking to tax high net worth individuals, which may scare away some of those crypto native people and force them into selling, right? So we'll discuss your options for what you can do in that environment. But nevertheless, you can see over here, during those election phases, the market typically just runs onwards and upwards, right? So there it is. That's the S&P 500 right now. Here's your NASDAQ on the top right, still just narrowly away from pushing up into all-time highs over there. And then you have the Dow Jones Industrial Average slightly putting back over here. This one's really moved. So, even if this pulls all the way back down to the 200-week moving average and your strong horizontal, this is going to present major support for the Dow Jones altcoins, that's coming in just under that 40,000 mark, so 39,989. And then you can see Coinbase, like crypto, lagging what's happening in those traditional markets. And this is typical, right? So we're still waiting for a pullback, a major pullback, and hopefully trend continuation towards the downside for the DXY, that being the dollar index, because this is presenting an absolute headache environment for risk on assets. And although crypto is still holding up, Bitcoin is still holding up, it's going to struggle to run, right? It will really struggle to run unless the DXY rejects from here. So the next area of interest that we have marked out over here is, of course, well, this order block that initially led to the breakdown move over here. You're essentially coming to back test that region, and then you have the 0.786, which is the white line over there, and this is on a weekly scale. We're right there. So if you can see something like that, that should be very good for crypto. Understand, if this does hold this as support and continue to rip towards the upside over here, well, in that environment, you have to really question, is this a left translated crypto cycle where the whole cycle is going to end early, right? I think that it's very unlikely that that takes place, and much more likely that we see some sort of a rejection from here and continuation down to the bottom of the parallel channel, right? This is a multi-decade parallel channel for the DXY. You can see over here, holding price all the way towards the upside. And then we got the major range high over here in the gray box. So we're keeping a close eye out on that. What's interesting over here is this as well. If you look at and study the Bitcoin monthly RSI, and you look at the RSI right now in October, a week before elections, and you compare that to all the prior times, well, it looks very similar, right? So there it is. You can see the RSI just pre-parabolic phase, right? So if you look at that, October 2012, the RSI was at 65.55. October 2016, it was at 65.42. October 2020, 65.45. And now October 2024, 65.01 on that RSI scale. And that's, 6 days, or not 6 days left anymore, but only 3 days left till it closes based on when this tweet was written. And if it can start to close back above these regions over here, this is where usually you see your big parabolic moves, is when the RSI starts to trend into that 80 region. So very interesting how things line up, how the timing tends to rhyme as well so significantly, and that's your monthly scale, right? So a little bit left to go in terms of the close, 3 days, 18 hours left to go. If this can close as a full-bodied candle, imagine you have a strong rally for the next 3 days and 18 hours, and you close into that $71,300 region, then you can say November, even if you do get a slight pullback, is probably going to be the month that breaks through that region, that cracks that resistance, and really gets prices accelerating towards the upside. Not only that, but we've seen aligning that with the timing over here, of course, of the monthly RSI coming into this key zone over here where bulls start to take control. We can also see at the same time the Gaussian channel has had multiple back tests into the top side over here, and you can look at the prior times, right? We've led into all those parabolic moves over there, and timing wise, we still anticipate that somewhere around here, this is if you utilize that Gaussian channel, you're going to find your market cycle top most likely sometime next year, right? This could be in the region, if you use the Gaussian channel specifically, of November 2025, which lines up with everything we're seeing right here, right? The next 6 months look very good for continuation over here on Bitcoin and the stock market. And the total cryptocurrency market cap is still holding up. We're still creating an order block. Remember, I said over here, a massive order block, right? Massive order block leads to a massive breakout. So waiting for this order block to complete over here. And as long as the total cryptocurrency holds up above that $2 trillion mark, you can treat that as a significant range low at this region over here. And that is your opportune area to start to reaccumulate. So on the daily time frame or the weekly time frame, let's move this onto the daily time frame over here quickly. If you look at the daily time frame, price keeps defending and respecting that previous month's high, right? So look at that. Even though price is wicking below, every candle seems to be closing up above that previous month's high, which I've labeled over here at 66,500. So proving to be a significant level over here to defend. And of course, the major resistance is going to be coming overhead over here. We need to break above the previous quarter's high as well as the previous week's high. You can expect that if this week we start to trade above the previous week's high, that's probably going to be the opportune moment where you'll see continuation, and then you should clear that all important 69,988, rounded up, call it 70,000. That takes you above the previous quarter high, which is always a significant level, and then you can start to move to the top side of the trading range and lead to consolidation and later on continuation. So your sign of strength as per the Wyckoff accumulation schematic. Price is narrowly below the yellow line over here, the horizontal, and that's your pivot level for the RSI. If bulls can get price above this region over here, RSI will continue to trend towards the upside on the daily. And then remember, that will have the opportunity to keep the monthly going up as well, which will look really, really good for higher prices. So we'll keep an eye out on this, right? It all depends on what happens leading into the election. Understand that into that election phase, you can experience increased volatility within the market, right? Higher volatility, and that will shake some market participants out. So if we quickly go on to the cumulative volume deltas over here, which we posted in the Whale Room Discord, well, you can see Bitcoin slightly positive. ETH still very bearish sentiment out there with negative funding over there. Solana slightly positive over there. You have near negative. You have WIF very negative over there, and Pepe even more negative. So the market might start to try and de-risk leading into that election phase due to some uncertainty. Keep an eye out on that. This sometimes does lead into those short squeezes where currently you have your liquidity building up with a liquidation leverage price of 68,946, and that's just under $70 million worth of liquidity situated over there. Now, very quickly, for those of you in Whale Room, we've just dropped this over there. This has been, of course, all the videos, all the analysis, for any of you that are looking to still learn more about the markets. If you do want those educational videos, call it a bit of an accelerator program. It has been dropped there in Whale Room, how to fund your trading exchange. This is for all the basics of those of you who are coming in late into the market cycle. You don't understand these things. Everything is dropped over there, as well as all the blog posts that we're busy writing up. Remember, for example, the options trading. So for any of you that are not in Whale Room, I do want to remind you that the pricing will go up as of the 1st of November. If you do join now, you'll be locked in at the current pricing rate, right? So as long as you don't leave Whale Room, you'll continue to pay the discounted rate, which is on right now. You'll never get a more expensive price ever again. So the traders, our coaches in there are absolutely crushing it. Here's Josh with already this morning, 115% trade. This trade was just entered in this morning. Cool. Continuing on over here. We're looking at the daily exchange volume. It's starting to tick back up over here. On the, let's go on the lower time frame over here. So this was coming down, starting to slowly turn back up. But we really want to see this starting to trade above this $50 to $60 million resistance area where it keeps struggling to get above. So if we start to see new volume coming into the market, that will be a very, very positive sign. And you can expect probably after the election phase, right? That's when the market will have more clarity and be willing to choose a direction. Remember, the markets absolutely despise uncertainty. When the market is uncertain, it tends to sit on its hands on the sidelines. As soon as the election phase ends, certainty comes back into the market, and that's where all these fund managers which have been building up cash positions are likely to start to reallocate back into the market, right? And that's where you'll see that USDT dominance drop, right? Because right now the USDT dominance is, holding up within a range-bound environment because these are the sideline market participants waiting for that certainty to come back in. So we need to keep an eye out on that. Even a drop down to this 3% region could yield a pretty massive pump within the market, because you have to understand the USDT market cap keeps growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. People underestimate how absolutely massive the stablecoin market cap is when it comes to crypto. Remember that one of crypto's best use cases is the stablecoin industry, right? The ability to send value, stable value, across chain without any intermediary and in an instant, right? This is a massive, massive value proposition for crypto, and it could be a quadrillion dollar industry, right? If you can disrupt that. So don't underestimate the importance of looking at the USDT dominance over there. Now, speaking of which, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, there's been, again, talking about how things rhyme when we go back over here and we have a look at that monthly RSI and how just leading into that election phase, it leads to these big moves. We can also study the same thing when it comes to that Bitcoin dominance. And what we can see over here is that usually Bitcoin dominance drops for about 337 days, which is what leads to that 1 year parabolic bull market phase, lining up with the RSI and the monthly that I just showed you, right? When it gets into those zones, that's usually where your parabolic advancements take place, and simultaneously the Bitcoin dominance drops. Then you lead into a bear market at the end of that, where Bitcoin dominance just rises for about 3 years. In this instance, you can see from 2018 to 2021 peak, it was 1,065 days of absolute domination by the Bitcoin dominance, and then it dropped, right? It dropped, leading to the final phase of that massive rally for the whole of 2021 over there. And then you led from 2022 all the way up until the current point on a Bitcoin dominance tear, right? Which is why it was so important to choose the right altcoins, to focus on altcoins that are in an uptrend against Bitcoin dominance, or at the very least coming into strong horizontal support against their BTC pair, so that you can adequately allocate, right? Now you can see, look at the rhyme over here. 1065, right? 1,065 days was an absolute face melting rally by Bitcoin dominance, came down, and now we're at 1,066 days and waiting for this drop for the next 1 year. And that can help us to also look and time the potential next cycle top for the altcoin sector, is by looking at these same trajectories, right? 337 days, 334 days, and possibly 334 days from the point that we have a confirmed top. Now, if that is the case, well, here's our Bitcoin dominance. You can see really grinding into the top side over here. And at any moment, we could be looking for a bottom. So let's actually mark it out over here, 337, 334, 334. Let's go conservatively with between, let's go with anywhere between 300 and 330 days to see what the potential top could be. And you can see over here, well, if we're going with around that 300-day mark, we have the 25th of August, 2025. If we go for the full 330 like previously, well, then we sometime in September 2025. That's where we would expect the Bitcoin dominance to absolutely fall like a rock in water. And then the altcoin sector rallies. And we're coming very, very, very close. So there's a couple of things to consider over here. The one is the Bitcoin dominance. The other is the total to market cap, which is Ethereum and all the other altcoins. And you can see at a very similar point in time in 2020, total 2 was in a symmetrical triangle, which then eventually broke out, taking the cryptocurrency market cap up 9x, right? From only $200 billion market cap, it took it to 1.7 trillion, leading to an enormous altcoin rally. Now we have a falling wedge. For those of you out there who don't know, this is, although price is moving towards the downside, we're breaching the top side of the falling wedge over here. And a falling wedge is a bullish chart pattern. And we could go from 0.9 trillion. If we do the 9x, it would take the total to crypto market cap up to about $8 trillion market cap, right? Which is giving you, on average, if you spread your money across an index of stable altcoins like large caps, that could drive you up 8x returns on your total crypto portfolio. And then remember all the timing factors that we've looked at over here. You really want to pay attention to that when it comes to trying to decide when to exit the market. So when alt season is the question? Well, I always have said that you're looking to accumulate your altcoins near the bottom over here of the Bitcoin season index, anticipating the turn, meaning you're treating this as an oscillator, right? The same way that you treat a stochastic RSI or the RSI. When it gets to the bottom and it starts to turn up over here, you're looking to establish your positions for the move towards the upside, right? And when it gets to the top side over here, that's where you want to start to move out of your altcoins back into Bitcoin, anticipating that we're going to move into a Bitcoin dominance rally, right? As opposed to what most people do is they wait for everybody on YouTube to say it's alt season and everything's rallying. And that's when they start to allocate into altcoins. Little do they know they're buying literally right at the end, right? Right at the end, a very, very dangerous environment. So now is probably one of the best times to start to look towards those altcoins. And remember the flow of the crowd during the 4-year crypto cycle, which flows more like this, right? Remember, nobody wants to buy Bitcoin. That's where you should accumulate BTC with dollars. Then you move into accumulating altcoins with BTC that was bought for cheap. That's phase 2. When Bitcoin makes its parabolic move, everyone floods into BTC. Altcoins go down significantly in their Satoshi value. And then after Bitcoin stops going up and it tends to consolidate, which is kind of what we're seeing right now, the crowd then moves into altcoins. And that's where you should look to sell your altcoins for BTC during the alt season. But I spoke about this over the Saturday show that I did. And I said that sometimes you will loop back into 3A, which means that you go back into a Bitcoin making a parabolic move. And that's where you want to accumulate altcoins. And then eventually you don't default from 3 to 3A, but you go to 3B, which is on the final alt season. We don't loop back. Remember, many of your no-coiner friends are going to be asking about Bitcoin, and that's truly when the altcoins tend to outperform. Now, because the market tends to follow these Elliott waves where you go into wave 1 up, right? Remember, Bitcoin moves into wave 1 up, then it goes into a corrective phase, wave 2, then it goes into a big wave 3, which is what we've just completed or we've seen. That was the top that occurred in March. And then you go into wave 4 corrective phase, right? When you start to leave wave 4 and you move into wave 5, which is where I firmly believe we're situated right now, well, that's where you, instead of going into 3A, you flip back to 3B, and the altcoins tend to outperform, which means that we probably should be treating this as an oscillator, looking to establish positions as this is about to turn towards the upside, right? So one of the biggest blue chip alts that we can look at, of course, is ETH, which the sentiment is pretty shot on. We know that people are very heavily bearish on Ethereum right now, and rightfully so, right? It's been absolutely annihilated against Bitcoin, and it's completely underperformed the majority of other altcoins out there. But you have to acknowledge that this is probably a reaccumulation because it's coming into the 200-week moving average over here, the green line, which is holding as support, right? It hasn't spent too much time underneath that. And just like Bitcoin, at that all-important 200-week moving average, it will probably lead to some sort of a bounce, right? So let's reset the zoom over here quickly on Bitcoin. You can see Bitcoin doesn't spend too much time underneath. Only during this bear market did it spend time underneath. As soon as it reclaimed, that's actually where it led into its next big move. So if you look at Ethereum, Ethereum is probably doing something like this, right? Somewhere around when Bitcoin was around this, I think it was the $25,000 region and led into the markup phase. That's most likely what's taking place. Now, it's important to understand this because if that is true and Bitcoin dominance is busy topping, then we could very, very well be at the bottom of this Bitcoin season index, where now it's actually time to look towards the alt. So we'll get into some of the best performing alts in just a moment. Here's your ETH BTC chart, right? Falling like a rock in water, just absolutely tanking over there. But this is the area to watch because we have already once tagged the 1.618 fib extension towards the downside over here. That came in at 0.0361. We seem to so far be holding it, but it all depends on what happens this week and next week leading into that election phase. Now, from a fractal perspective, we've seen that if we pull the fractal from the prior October, November, December, January, February, March, then you can see this is what it looks like, right? So it is possible. It's always possible that based on everything else that we're looking at, that maybe you're going to see some sort of a major bottom on ETH, and that will bode really, really well for the altcoins. Now, because ETH has been very heavy, right? Heavy towards the downside over here, I've said that the approach that I've taken is I don't want to take on too much risk, right? I don't want to tie up too much capital in ETH in the hopes that it would do some sort of a reversal and be the typical blue chip that it is, where ETH outperforms everything, including Bitcoin, for the first part of that second half of the post-halving cycle, which is basically the very, very start of your parabolic phase, right? We know the graphic that you guys have all seen where Bitcoin outperforms, then it leads into ETH, ETH outperforms, and then you lead into large caps, mid caps, and low caps, right? Now, instead of putting a large amount of capital into ETH, when I could rather deploy that capital into something else like Solana, which is also outperforming ETH, but I still want to maintain the insurance that in case ETH does play out like it has every other cycle as the leading blue chip in that first phase of the parabolic advancement, I've decided to take out options on ETH instead, right? So you can take out call options, which are much, much cheaper than actually buying the spot ETH. And then if it does play out like it has in the price cycles, you have the right and the opportunity to cash out on those options and pretty much buy them on the cheap. Now, I'm not going to explain it all in this show because it's going to take way too long. But if you do go onto the weekend show that I did on Saturday, it's this one over here, crypto warning, death of ETH is providing a huge opportunity. Please go through to that show. Watch this entire show if you want to understand how you can employ the exact same strategy to buy ETH on the cheap, right? So we're doing this on Derbit. Everything is explained in that show. There's also an article which will help you, but it basically allows you the opportunity now, while nobody is interested, to buy it really cheap because ETH volatility is low. When volatility is low, the options are a lot less to buy, right? So think of it like this. You can basically buy ETH now for essentially you have an asking price of anywhere between about $100 and $300, right? And then if ETH does skyrocket, then you can cash in on that option, and then you'll pay the strike price, and then you bank the premium, right? It's all explained here. Everything is explained in this article. All of you have the opportunity to get this article over here. If you just go through to the link in the description, it's totally free. Scroll through to the bottom section over here where it says Whale Crypto Trades, right? There it is, Whale Crypto Trades. And if you do want to follow along, well, at least for Derbit, if you want to follow along over there, here is the sign up link. Many of you asked, how do you join the Banter Whale competition team where there's prize money available, right? First, you need to join Derbit, then you come back over here, then join the Banter Whale team, then come back here again, and then connect your Derbit API to Signal Plus, which is the partnering team, right? So that's what we're looking to do for ETH. But remember I said in the beginning, what happens if the election phase goes badly, right? Well, then there's another opportunity over there. If the election phase goes badly, then you decide, what do you think is going to happen for price, right? Price is probably then going to go down initially if Kamala wins. Price is going to have a knee-jerk reaction towards the downside. You can protect yourself on both Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana using Derbit, where you can then instead take out a put option, which gives you at least the right to cash in or sell at the predetermined price, right? So, for example, let's say Bitcoin right now is trading at $68,000 and it goes down to $40,000 because Kamala takes the win. Well, then you've bought yourself a put option, which means that you can still sell Bitcoin at the $68,000 price point, even when it's down to $40,000, right? Everything is explained in there, right? So this is their competition that they're currently running. And this is why it's important, right? Because right now, Trump still has a 66.3% probability of winning, at least according to the poly market odds over here. And that's why if she does somehow win, based on what the odds are right now, in just a couple of days' time, we've seen, the rug pulls before within the election with 7 days, 12 hours left to go. That is going to crash the markets, right? That's going to be viewed as some sort of a gray swan, black swan event worldwide. And I do think that will create an initial knee-jerk reaction. But then I think that the market will still continue towards the upside because cyclically, this is typically how things play out, right? They'll probably print a whole lot of money once again. And the more money they print, the higher the hard assets go, right? Gold, property, Bitcoin, and then we're still expecting the blow off top. So protect yourself. By the way, for any of you that do join now, you have until the, how long do you have? I think you have a couple of days left to join. So you have registration opportunity now until the end of November. And if you do join now, you're actually going to get yourself free US election options, right? Free US election options. Remember, the election options are more expensive. So if you go over here and you go through to let's just click here, options. Go through to options over here. Where is it on the top side over here? Here it is, election options with the flag. These are a lot more expensive, right? These cost you a lot more. The reason why is, of course, because the election is just around the corner. We're closer to the event. The further out, the cheaper they are. All right, let's go into the altcoins, right? Altcoins. So over the course of the weekend, I also showcased a whole bunch of opportunities over here looking at the alt and their BTC pairs. You can see Mantra against Bitcoin came perfectly into that zone over the course of the weekend when I did the show. This was on Sunday. Any of you can go back and watch that if you do want to learn more. So that's Mantra coming into the BTC pair support. You also had Mantra USD coming into key support, and we said this was an area of interest, at least for an initial bounce. And if it fails that, you're probably going to be coming down to $1.11. Well, if you go through to the BTC pair, look at that. Big bounce, exactly as predicted, right? Huge move off of that over there. And if you look at the USD pair, also big bounce. So again, BTC pair from there to there. If you look at the USD pair, from there to there. Really, really great trade. Congratulations to all of you that actually took that trade. Well done. What now? Well, price obviously following a big inefficiency candle like that will always tend to pull back, wait for things to settle. Usually you can come down about halfway through that candle, which is more or less where things are right now. And then you can just see how price holds up within this range. It should start to form a trading range now, anywhere between about 134 and the top side of here at about 147. Watch it consolidate and range over there, and then we can reevaluate to see how strong it is. Now, I do want to go into some of the other coins as well in just a moment. So the other ones that we're looking at over here, we'll look through them in live time in just a moment. But SUI BTC, remember, this is how you treat these things like oscillators. You come to the bottom of the range, SUI BTC, big pump towards the upside, hit the top side of the range. Now you're going to be looking for mid-range support. So we are very, very close to that mid-level. And if price comes down to 140 on SUI USD, that's going to be your mid-level support. ETH BTC, you guys know it. We've covered this a whole lot. There it is, coming into key support. Here's the chart, right? Coming into this key level, you'd be looking to scale into this trade within the red zone, right? So give yourself a little bit of leeway, but if it is holding this ascending triangle, this supports everything that we've been looking at for why ETH USD could actually bounce, right? Near BTC also approaching key support over there. Here's near USD, right at the key level, looking for a trade opportunity over there. Injective Bitcoin, key support. That one's the closest to support right now. And simultaneously, you have Injective USD also right at a key area. I suppose that's probably why Josh took this trade in the Discord, right? Maybe he watched that show as well and thought this was a great trade. Well done. I think it is a good trade. All right. Casper BTC, key support, but Casper USD could still have a way to go, right? I said possibly down to 0.097. So let's have a look at Casper. How is Casper actually doing now? 0.097. So watch for the bounce over here, bounce up, and then possibly moving towards the downside. Let's double check how SUI doing. Okay, still holding up over there. It could possibly bounce and then later on lead down to those low levels. What about NEAR? Okay, NEAR holding up pretty much at the same place. So, watch for the reactions out of these zones. You don't want to break this trend line. Of course, if you do, then you're probably coming all the way back down to the bottom of the range, which means you have to leave some capital available to deploy all the way down to about $3.50. And then we also wanted to have a look at Injective very quickly. Here's Injective. Okay, Injective. So still early, still holding up. For those of you in Whale Room, all the charts are dropped there. Please go through if you want that trade from Josh. It is there. I think that one looks still pretty decent, right? So if the markets pick up today for the US stock markets, as per what it suggests over here, if we look at these data, remember 0.51%, biggest gainer day of the entire year on that particular day, well, then we would expect that this market is also going to bounce from this region, right? Let's see, what else have we got over here? Okay, just want to scroll through anything else that was on our watch list. Okay, FET is losing this parallel channel. I mean, it's at this point, it's lost it. You've already closed multiple candles below. So I'm going to delete that. That means you have to default to trading this as a range, right? So if the parallels are not holding, then the next best thing to look at is always going to be the horizontals, which means, a possibility of a move down to 1.05. What is that percentage-wise? Let's just double check this. All right, that's possibly another 15% down, right? 15% down. All right, what else, guys? Let's see. Brett, how's Brett doing? Okay, still holding the bottom side of that parallel channel. Okay, Myro also still consolidating around here, probably a reaccumulation zone. Popcat, still one of the strongest out there, looking really, really good. What about Mog? Let's see, Mog. Okay, Mog coming down. Okay, MOG coming down. Let's quickly redraw some of this. All right, let's double check on MOG. 1 second, guys. Okay, you are hitting the golden pocket over there. You are hitting the golden pocket, so I'll keep an eye on this area. I mean, hard invalidation is going to be below this candle, which occurred on the 10th of October. So that is MOG. I also want to double check on Giga. How's Sundog doing? Okay, Sundog still nuking. Let's go to Giga. Where's Giga? Here's Giga. Okay, Giga still looking really, really strong. FOG, also one of the new blue chips that we added to our collection. Looking really, really good over here. Also looking like one of the stronger coins out there. So Popcat, Giga, FOG, those are looking really, really good for continuation. All right, what else, guys? Drop your requests in the comment section. I will make sure to bring those up. What else do we have? For those of you that, by the way, if you do want to join into Whale Room and you want to see what it's about, screenshot this, pause the video, read through. For if any of you are thinking that you want to join now before the pricing goes up, this is a little bit of an overview just from 𝗕𝗓𝗕𝗏, who has had a great experience. We get comments like this all the time. I just specifically wanted to highlight this one because it's a shout out to the whole team. Remember, it's not just me, the team, Chris, Farouk, Josh, everybody's doing an absolutely phenomenal job. And you have this whole page over here, this whole index page and guide. Remember, this takes you through to videos. For those of you that still want to, up your knowledge, it is all over there. If you want the bang strategy from Chris, that is over there. We got a whole lot of opportunity in this group. All right, 𝗪𝗓𝗓. Yeah, let's go. A couple of requests on 𝗪𝗓𝗓. Okay, 𝗪𝗓𝗓 USDT. All right. Okay, 𝗪𝗓𝗓 losing this lower range over here. It's still looking weak, right? It's looking weak. This is the area where you wanted to see price bounce out of. Not a good sign that it's hanging out below this region over here. Look, for me personally, this is a small part of my portfolio. You definitely want to see this bounce over here because this was a prior key resistance region. So when you come back into that resistance, you ultimately want to flip it into support. If you can't do that, well, you're going to be coming down at least towards the mid-range, right? So mid-range region, let's see over here, mid-range is going to be coming in at 1380 over there. Then it is possible that it comes further down. I do believe that, in terms of what we've spoken about over here, when alt season, I think that the reaccumulation for alt season will take place over the course of the next 2 months. So the whole of November, the whole of December, within the next 60 days, I think we'll see some sort of a major bottom on all of the alt BTC pairs. And then leading into Q1 of next year, pushing into March, that's probably where you're going to see the majority of the alts, outperform. All right, let's go to 𝗬𝗏. There is a request on 𝗬𝗏. Let's pull that up. Okay, under the AI sector. Okay, so 𝗬𝗏 has hit the mid-range. Now, that's the level that you want to hold up. It may take a bit of time. Just watch and observe as per the little drawings over here. You might see a little bit of a chop about. Remember, look to the Wyckoff schematics, right? The Wyckoff schematics, you'll see, look like this. There's tons of charts that look like this. I'll pull it up for you actually in a moment. This is what a Wyckoff looks like, right? You have this reaccumulation, you have expansion, you have distribution, you have expansion, which is your markdown phase. You have reaccumulation, you have expansion, and then sometimes you have distribution. Now you expect that the trend will continue up, right? So now you're looking for reaccumulation at the range low and then expansion into the next phase, which hopefully takes price high up. So if you followed this trajectory, right, you can see that, as I said, looking for a bottom on a lot of these coins between now and December, and then maybe January, February, March is that expansive phase, which then leads into the next consolidation. So Wyckoff schematic. Let's have a look at this, Wyckoff schematics, and I will show you exactly what I mean. Where did I have this? Where's the exact one? Exact one. Here, this is what I'm looking for. There we go. So this is it's a bit blurry. I don't know why, but that's what you're looking for, right? That accumulation. Let's click on it. Maybe it will open up nicely. Okay, it's taking us to Facebook. I don't have Facebook there. But that's what you're looking for, guys. Accumulation, markup phase, accumulation, markup phase, distribution, markdown phase, and so the story repeats, right? This is what you typically see over and over again. Okay, here's another viewpoint. There it is. Some call it the S phase, right? But essentially that's what you're looking for. Area of accumulation, we draw chopping like that. Markup phase, overboard area, distribution, and then you're looking to reaccumulate as a higher low on the charts, and then continuation. All right, so it is all there. It is all there. Guys, remember, if you do want to join, screenshot that, read through that. Everything is over there for your own disposal. I will see all of you on the next one. Let's cut it off over there. Thank you so much for joining. Have an absolutely lovely day, and cheers for now, guys.